Hello everyone. How is everyone doing this evening? So we've got another episode of the Arena head-to-head show versus Stormscryer and Wijkert. So yeah, I'm excited. How about you, Akna?
How's it going, Richie? Yeah, it's gonna be a good matchup today, I think.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
We've
Obviously,
got we've had some interesting changes in the arena this week since we last spoke.
that is very true. Yeah. So obviously the classes are meant to be a bit more closer together in regards to win chance, really, or tier level. I don't know how you would really explain it. They're just meant to be more fair,
I
aren't
think
they?
we can see from the HS replay stats. Previously, Paladin and Rogue were clearly the top two classes, up around the 55% win rate range, and they have both dipped down, and they're much closer to 51, 52%. I haven't checked today to see what it is, but and then you have those. So those two are still kind of the tier one classes, but they're much closer to average. Hunter and Priest are kind of still at the tier 3 level. But I think they have both bumped up a little bit, and then you've got the rest of the classes that are kind of in this really battle over 50%. So the percentages have got a lot closer together. The effect overall in the meta, I'm not totally sure if we totally know exactly how it's changed yet, but it does seem to be the meta has slowed down a little bit. I think what we're seeing is, at least from what I've seen on streams, I have not played myself, unfortunately, but I've seen some people drafting a little bit greedier, not worried as much, because I have noticed there are less paladins. Paladin is still a strong class that you can high roll and you can get your triple steeds draft still, but it's not as prevalent. So you are going to run into a lot more class diversity, even at higher wins. So yeah, the meta I think is still in a little bit of flux, but it does seem maybe not quite as dominated by Paladin as
100%. Yeah, the amount of paladins I even run into at this point in time is dropped drastically, but it's still settling. People are still trialing, aren't they? So it might jump back up or it might stay low when people find what the other class is the strongest if it isn't paladin. But yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
I think one of the main classes to watch has been Warlock. I think Warlock. I was surprised that Warlock wasn't doing as well in the win rates in the previous meta, because it should be, as we've seen in Constructed, it is one of the main counters to Paladin.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that it wasn't performing as well as it could be. But I think maybe now it's been like, if you've been watching the win rates, it's been kind of battling with Mage for that third place spot, I think. So we do have one of the players bringing Warlock today. So you want to talk about their lineups a little bit here?
Yeah, so we'll go over to the lineups now. I'm going to transition.
Or we can introduce. I think we can introduce. I'll do a little bit quick introduction. The two players, as he said, are Stormscryer and Wijkert. Stormscryer is one of the Murlocs and Men co-op people. We had him on last week, so he is a return guest. Our first return guest for the arena head-to-head.
That is true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. First return guest.
First return guest. All right. And we also have Wijkert. Some of you will recognize him from his co-ops with Shady. He is an Infinite leaderboard player, and he is one of the contributors to the Hearth Arena tier scores.
Yes. So, yeah, big shout out for that.
Yeah, what Hearth Arena does is they have several players, Infinite leaderboard players like Wijkert, that will contribute their personal card scores, what they rate each card individually, and then they kind of take an average or so of those, put them all together for their tier scores. So yeah, he is integral to the Hearth Arena team, and he's on with Shady from time to time as well. So.
Yeah, and you can see as well, what I really like with his co-ops with Shady is, he regularly does, not necessarily challenges Shady, but gives his point of view quite strongly. Yeah, it's outstanding. I love to see that. I love to see it.
Very high-level matchup again we've got today.
So the deck list we've got on the stream at the moment are Storms, Rogue, Paladin, and Warlock. I don't know the scores of all the lists he's got, but he has told me his Paladin went 12, so I've got that up here, which is very nice.
The Rogue deck I think went 7, and the Warlock went 9.
Okay.
There's not too much to say about the Paladin deck. I think it was a triple steed deck originally.
It was, yeah.
He ended up doing a substitution for a Tarim. I mean, a Stonehill.
Oh, do you mean Lich King? No, yeah.
But it's kind of just, your standard Paladonger list with the steeds and the Vine Cleaver and the swords. So I would expect that deck to do pretty well. The Warlock is also pretty interesting. When they were doing this draft, It started out like you can see. I think was it last week that did Stormscryer also have Godfrey? I think one of the Murlocs guys had Godfrey in one of their Warlocks, or maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, yeah, I
But,
believe you're right. I think you're right. I think
yeah,
you're
but
right.
yeah, Godfrey makes another return, and it's as a legendary. Whenever you see that in the, it's still one of the strongest cards. And they were actually having a debate. It was up against Jiraxis, I think.
Okay.
There was a little bit of a debate there for a little bit, but I thought it was a clear Godfrey. I think it's just one of those cards that you.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? You
It's
know,
a ridiculous
yeah.
card. All you need to do is you just make sure something's on 2 health, and you just throw it down the board. It's like, there's a reason that they run it in the control Warlock and Constructed. It also has the has a Despicable Dreadlord, a Shadow Flame. It has these sort of. It started in sort of this control Warlock direction, but then they kind of went with some picks like Fungalmancer, and then they went with the Summoning Portal, which I think he took over a Hellfire or a second. No, I'm sorry. It was over a Cobalt Apprentice. It was later in the draft. So I'll be interested to see how the Summoning Portal does. He does have one Sludge, Corrosive Sludge, which should be pretty good, as we'll see in a moment against the lineup that Wijkert is bringing.
He hasn't got any Echo cards, has he, to go with that Summoning Portal? That's the only reason I would tend to pick it these days. But
exactly. So this Warlock deck, I would expect to do well. It just is a little lacking in the early game, which is going to be the one question mark. Is that going to be hurt him, or is that going to hurt him too much there? The Rogue deck also is interesting to me. I call this the Bubblies Rogue. It actually was originally a triple Shroom Brewer Rogue.
Yeah.
And as we all know, that the Shroom Brewer has the best attack sound in the game. He was valuing survivability in this. He was picking heals and taunts above things like a second minstrel or a hallucination. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. He also took a couple picks, like Marsh Drake was over a Bloodfen Raptor and a Cold Blood. Marsh Drake is one of these that I think people are still sort of debating exactly how good it is in Rogue. I'm of the opinion that it's not that great. Like, yes, you can dagger it down, but I kind of want to use my dagger on something else. Sometimes you can do betrayal memes if you have that in the deck, but unfortunately he has the sudden betrayal, which he took over what did he take it over? It was over a Pterodax Hatchling, which is not the best 3-drop in the world, but still, secrets are one of those things in Rogue. It's just like, when you play it in the arena, there's going to be potatoes out there that are going to play badly into secrets, but in this format, I'm not going to expect the Sudden Betrayal to do too much. To do much. So I think for me, if I was to pick out the one deck that I'm going to have questions about, it's going to be this Rogue. Can he squeeze through a win with this Rogue deck?
Yeah, so I don't know if you mentioned, but the one card he actually substitute was the Sen'jin Sealed Master, which is obviously another taunt to protect him. So he sacrificed the healing, but he's
stuck with the survivability.
So
he's really valuing that in his Rogues, which is understandable. You want to use your life as a resource in Rogue. Yeah. But I do like taking the second Minstrel. I noticed he had several opportunities to take a second Minstrel, but he took a Brewer one time, he took a second Perditions, and then later on a Bone Drake. I feel like double Minstrel is kind of like the backbone of a Rogue deck, at least in the style I like to play, but we'll see how it works out for Stormscryer.
Yeah, so now I've got Wijkert's deck lists up. So as we can see by here, what we've noticed obviously in this series so far is pretty much at this point in time, Paladin is always being brought, kind of understandably, because quite often, players have gone very far with these. They've got powerful cards, which you've got the Silver Sword, Vine Cleaver, the Steed, so you can understand it being brought every time. I'm a little bit surprised we've seen Warrior nearly every series so far. I'm a massive fan of Warrior. Wijkert's Warrior did actually go 11 wins, and I really like this deck. Obviously, it kind of, what people say Warrior's carried by Spellstones, but the Woodcutter's axe, he's got 2 of them in here, which actually can go a long way, and obviously the Berserker, so it's very nice.
And he has double Rabid Worgen to go along with the double Woodcutter packs.
I think Warrior is in a better place than people know. It's just trying to fully work out how to play it. I think it is a very strong class at the moment because of the rush mechanic, and the Woodcutter's Axe, a very powerful card. And then obviously when you get the Spellstones with the Woodcutter's Axe, I think, it can buy a winning combo. And then you've got the Frothing Berserker with the AoE effects. So I think there's quite a few win conditions in Warrior that you can reliably hit while drafting. And I don't think fully everyone's utilising that at the moment. But yeah, I'm loving all these Warriors being brought. Absolutely loving it.
The Warrior draft was interesting. Now, this was actually one of the runs that that Wijkert did together with Shady. So they did actually draft this deck together. I think they actually did it prior to the 11.1 patch, I want to say. I'm not totally sure on that. So I don't know how much. I don't think very much changed with Warrior, though. I don't know that they really changed too much with its drafting. But like you said, it's got the double. They were trying to go for the Blood Razors, but they just didn't get offered any. So they kind of had to switch game plans. They ended up going with the double Woodcutters and the double Rabid Worgen. It was actually looking like a very mediocre, below par Warrior deck. But then in the last 5 picks, they got double Spellstone offered to them. So the last 5 picks kind of saved the draft for them. And they also had a Molten Blade. So Molten Blade makes another return appearance. We saw that in action last week. And this was actually a pick. I was surprised that Shady actually advocated for the Molten Blade.
Did he really?
He's actually kind of high on the Molten Blade. So I was a little bit shocked about that. But maybe he's been living on the high end of the Molten Blade RPG.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Stormscryer did actually convince me to try that card out a bit more often when he explained it last time, you know. So I am going to give that a go with more Warrior drafts. I'm interested to see how it goes in this particular run.
Yeah.
Have you got anything else you would like to say, or shall I?
Just to go over real quick. Yeah, the Paladin and Warrior Wijkert, I think are probably the 2 strongest decks in the whole lineup. Although the Paladin deck from Stormscryer, those 2 Paladins probably cancel each other out. Interestingly, they're both 11.1 drafts. So even though Paladin has seen a decrease in its win rate, you can still high roll Paladin. It is one of these, even though there are less steeds overall, you can still get a draft that gives you the multiple steeds. And I think that's what they both kind of ended up with here. Well, I think in Wijkert he only has the 1 steed, the 1 Vine Cleaver, and the 1 sword. But you know, that's kind of that's kind of the formula. So anyway, the questions I'm going to have are about the Druid.
Okay.
The Druid, so the Rogue is kind of the question mark for Stormscryer. I think the Druid is the big question mark for Wijkert. He felt obviously that it was strong enough, or he felt it was the strongest deck he could go with here, but it has no UI. Okay, and that is kind of the, you know, when you go for Druid, you're trying to hit that UI, or sometimes 2 of them. No UI, unfortunately, this time for Wijkert. He did end up with a pretty decent quality overall. Like the curve is pretty good, but it's sort of this sort of average Druid deck from what I can tell so far. But he got offered actually a lot of set. He could have had like 4 or 5 Savage Wars.
Yeah.
So we'll see. He's got the 1 single Savage War in there. He's also got the open summons. Mossy Horror also making an appearance.
I know, I did notice that. That's the one thing I was going to point out.
Cards, whenever I see it played, it just seems to absolutely destroy things. But it'll be interesting to watch. So so the Rogue for Storm and the Druid for Wijkert are the ones.
So Wijkert actually said that currently he's sitting at 5 wins and 1 loss with the Druid at the moment. So he hasn't quite finished it yet. So it's interesting to see, you know, how he'll perform with it this series, and how he'll actually perform with it when he gets around to finish it on his stream. Like
compared to what I've seen from other Druids out there, this feels like a fairly honest Druid deck. But you know, it's got Plague, it's got Starfall, it's got Swipe. It has potential, but we'll see.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to just get the players to queue now, so we'll be in within a minute, and we'll switch over to see the Mulligan then. So,
And did they say which classes they're leading off with?
Oh yeah, so we've got Wijkert leading off with the Druid, and then we've got... you're testing me on the next one, I have got it prepared. We've got Storm leading off with the Paladin, so yeah.
Okay, alright.
Be interesting.
Well, this should be a favorite for Storm here, I would imagine. I just think the quality of Storm's Paladin deck is probably going to be a little bit too strong for his Druid here. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps the Spellstone with the coin. I think I would probably throw it, but I don't have that much experience with the Druid Spellstone. I think I would probably just keep the Egg Napper, though.
Yeah, so Storm has just kept the Pixie. He chucked away his 2 big cards. I didn't actually get to fully see them, but yeah, so he's just kept the Pixies the time being. 3 mana, 3/4. You can't argue with that on turn 3.
Yeah, it looks he's just keeping the Pixie. The Pixie is one of the stronger cards. Both the Pixie and the Tangle for Mystic have been excellent cards. You know, kind of bringing back that Spider Tank feel. You know, that we haven't. Witchwood has been one of those interesting metas where you haven't really seen that many new Witchwood cards, but Pixie and Mystic are 2 of the big impactful ones for me. Wijkert really taking his time here. I think he's taking our admonition to heart. Really take your time.
Exactly.
Make sure that we get in.
We did advise him to just take a little bit longer because we've got a delay as a spectator. So I think he's just giving us that full-time slot.
He does opt to go with the Spellstone, so he likes having that
exactly
that early removal for flexibility here. He ends up with a Swamp Boost, so he's looking like he's got a pretty good curve. Eggnapper into Defender of Argus is probably going to be pretty strong. He draws up the Phoenix here, so he's probably going to want to save the coin for either a Phoenix or an Argus. But
yeah, so Storm. Oh, you would still play that now. You wouldn't just hero power. Yeah, it's late, but you would still play it.
Go with the Lost. I think
yeah.
So, yeah.
And then you've obviously got the 3 follow-ups. So he's chosen to go with the hero power. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, the thing is with Lost, I mean, it's a flexible card, right? Like,
yeah.
You can squeeze it in. He's probably thinking he can do it with like
turn 4 maybe if he doesn't get anything.
Because right now he doesn't have a turn.
Exactly.
So I think I would have. I like the tempo out with Paladin, but that's just.
Yeah.
He does have to go with the coin 3 here, just to get something on the board. He probably is thinking of saving the ooze. Likely if this is one of those instances where if I'm on ladder, I might just play the ooze because I don't know for sure. But if I've got an opponent bringing a paladin to this kind of a tournament, he's going to have a vine cleaver and he's going to have a silver sword. So I almost have to save the ooze.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
For one of those weapons, so I can understand going with the coin 3s here and picking up the Dark Reaper allows him to do that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before as well, like the meta has slowed down a bit, so these players aren't going to necessarily rush out necessarily how they would maybe have done before the hotfix. I don't know if it's called the hotfix.
Be part of the thinking there with the hero power from Storm.
So that could be one reason why you didn't use that card. But yeah, definitely keeping the ooze is a major, because if you can't deal with the weapon, it can be just it can be just a game ender, just sitting there watching either of the paladin weapons get value.
Yeah, so here is where Wijkert would love to have the swipe in hand right here, but unfortunately he's going to have to go with one of his 4-drops, I would assume. I don't think... I mean, maybe there's like a Wrath Spellstone line, but that's probably pretty awkward. So...
It's probably trading. Yeah, Phoenix and trading into the 3/4. You leave him with the 2 1/1s, which would get tested by your 1/1s, or do you not fully agree with that?
Yeah, one way or the other, you're ending up with your 1/1s against his. So yeah. I think I'd rather put out the 3/3 body than the 2/3 body of the Argus.
The thing, if obviously with this play, he just leaves him with the 1/1s, and now obviously Wijkert has the 3/3, which can't be directly dealt with by the 1/1s, where if he left the 3/4 alive, he would be obviously just leaving a 1/1. No, just the 3/4 against his 3/3.
Yeah, so this was something that this Swamp Ooze is, now that I'm looking at it, clutch. I had not thought about the Swamp Ooze enough here with this Druid deck, but in this situation now we see with the Vine Cleaver in hand, this could end up being the critical moment in the match here. We'll see.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you do just play the Vine Cleaver on 7, you know. You don't play around the nose very rarely.
Oh yeah, no. You always just, I mean, you're going to get a swing and some dudes anyway, and it's just the, you know, it's pretty much the best, I would think it's the best Paladin card at the moment. Well, outside of Terran. Mossy Horror also could do some good work here with this Basilisk, depending on when it comes down. The Trog Gloom Eater as well. He's going to have some very nice Mossy targets coming up.
So would you consider Argent here and the Spellstone to wipe the board? You can trade the 2/2 Dinosaur into his 1/1 Pala and Spellstone is 2/1.
It is tough. You definitely, going into a Steed turn, you want to clear the Paladin's board. I was also looking at this line here where he could cycle with the Wrath and then potentially do like a hero power. Yeah. He draws into the Frost Rider here, which is absolutely amazing. So,
yeah, this is very rewarding.
The way this is lining up, I was worried a little bit about this Druid deck, but he could be able to sneak out a win with this, with the Mossy Horror into the Vine Cleaver. This may be a very, very tough moment here for Stormscryer.
Yeah, it can be tough for the Paladin to get back on the board, you know, it's not impossible, but at this stage of the game, you know, the Druid is got ways of just keeping this board and keeping the Paladin off, so it's going to be interesting to see.
I think this is what's going to decide the match. The Mossy Horror into the Swamp Ooze, I think, is going to be too much.
Oh my gosh, yes, I know you just mentioned the Mossy Horror, but I didn't actually think about just what it's going to do, you know?
These back-to-back turns here, I think, are going to win the game for Wijkert.
I think I've underestimated this Mossy. I really need to trial this card more. I don't think I think of it correctly.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, as you mentioned, that is just insane. And then he has an ooze to follow up if he takes the trade under the 4/4 with his Vine Cleaver now.
Of course, he's going to do it because it's like, oh, I have a 4/4 target for my Vine Cleaver.
Yeah.
This is my way back in the game, and then here comes the ooze slam. No, you're going back. And the Defender of Argus to put on the 2/7, like, he can guard the ooze against dudes. Like, this is just looking like a really, really good spot. Picks up the swipe as well. Like, I don't know exactly how Storm is going to get back in this.
I was just trying to look at his deck list and see what potentially would be the comeback, you know. He does have a Silver Sword, but he doesn't...
Consecrate, I think he has a Consecrate in there, but that's not going to really be good enough here, I don't think.
He doesn't have a Consecrate, no. He has a charged Devil Saw, which could actually help out if it, you know, for some reason Wijkert left it alive, and then he draws into their... Steed to, you know, buff the Devil Saw after, but yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. This is a really, really, really good spot here. This Druid deck looking like it might. So these, the tech cards. This is the thing that you do have to think about when analyzing decks, especially weapon removal. We talked about the sludge that was in which deck were we talking about the sludge in?
The sludge.
It was in one of Storm's decks here. I think it was in the Warlock deck. Yeah, so, but yeah, because you have classes like Paladin and Rogue that are still at the top of the meta, that can still be so impactful, having these sorts of tech cards can often be what swing the matches for you. So that is, you know, one of these draft strategies to follow, I think.
Yeah, I think it's quite crazy. I don't think it's just a case of how they've been doing the bucket system, but tech cards are very strong. Like, previously in Arena, you'd be like, oh, you wouldn't choose a card just because of its tech, you know? But now, like, it's a very viable tactic, which can give a huge swing.
Yeah, so... I don't know what's... Storm maybe just is thinking maybe I can drop down this Sleepy Dragon, and somehow he just doesn't have a way to remove that. Because it is a Druid, you know, maybe he has some awkward... but I think probably with the it is a little bit awkward with the 1/5. He kind of wants to drop the Volcanosaur. You might just Volcanosaur and Spellstone to clear the Glue Meter. I think that's probably the line that he's going to end up with here. Does the Volcanosaur? You just really want to develop it this turn, I think. Oh, I have a Spectate Bug. I don't see the options.
So it's +3 health, +3 attack, and Divine Shield, and he chose the +3 health, and now he's got +3 attacks, stealth, and Death Rattle. And he chose the plus attack, so...
Okay. Yeah, so he goes with the Spellstone and the Ooze. The Horror trades into the 1/1, and looking about like it's going to be GG here pretty soon.
Yeah, so because of their buffs on the Volcanosaur, this Sleepy Dragon isn't too much of a difficult situation for him now, so... Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's obviously not over until it's over, but...
Based on what I see in these hands, I'm kind of thinking it's over.
So if he goes with a Ghostly Charger and a buff, so he can get it to 6. So, no, the Ghostly Charger don't do much, does it?
Ghostly Charger plus Bells plus Blessing and Might would put it at 7 attack. It's still not quite enough to kill the 8/9. This 8/9 is just there's just no answer for it here. A Dark Conviction would be great to have in this spot, but I don't know if does he have one person? He does have one Dark Conviction, I guess, but unfortunately it's not in hand.
No, like I'm looking at this hand trying to think of what play would be better, going the buff or the Sleepy Dragon. I think at least removing one minion's the better option, but you're still leaving him with the big minion, which is you know, and he just gets the trade back so cleanly if he wants to. It's, you know.
So let's see what is left in. He does have a True Silver left in the deck. He does have Double Steed left in the deck. Drawing one of those steeds right now is probably his best shot to start getting on the comeback trail.
Yeah, the Charged Devil Saw might do some work as well, depending on the state of board.
Does also have a Stonehill. Does also have the Stonehill Defender.
Oh yes, that's right. The sub card it could do.
Anytime you've got one of those in there, you've got to, you know, there's still a chance. There's still a shot.
You know, even Stonehill Defender for 3 mana out of your 10, and then into a 7 mana taunt. Is it the Mossy? Not the Mossy. The Etin. You know, can still delay to give you some favourable trades, but it's the hand isn't really working right now, is it?
No, he opts to go with the might here to make sure that it will clear the if he were to trade the 5/5 back in. He's probably just going to trade the 8/4 and go with a swipe. And then he's getting very close to lethal. I don't think he quite has it yet this turn. It's probably going to be Volcanosaur and swipe to clear the sleepy. And then I would just probably play out. I don't think I'm too worried about it. Maybe he's worried about MCT. I don't know. MCT is one of those things, but you know, if he plays like a big, another big pawn or something, I think oh, he can't. Oh, he's actually choosing the hero power and pass. He is going to play around the MCT.
Yeah, I completely agree with it. I'm laughing because he dropped the well played emote.
He thought he was dead. He thought he was dead there, I think. The Chain Gang is an okay pickup that might allow him to. No, he's actually still dead.
Yeah, he's still dead because he can.
So I
he
think
would have
he's just dead on board here, I think. So yeah, so as we saw, you know, Mossy Horror into Acidic Swampoos was the backbreaker that was just a little bit too much. Even with this I still think this Paladin deck is very, very strong, and it should end up getting a win here, I would expect. But, you know, it is Hearthstones. For sure. Until we see it, and yeah, that was the critical moment there.
Okay, so we're gonna.
So this really, I think, swings the series over to Wijkert right now. I would put him in a very, very strong position. These two remaining decks, the Paladin and Warrior, very, very strong decks that have very good synergies and everything. So we'll see. It's going to be an uphill battle, I think, for Storm coming back from the spot.
Yeah, so the thing about this head-to-head series, though, is he does have an idea what is... so Wijkert does have an idea what is obviously in Storm's deck, so he might choose to surprise him and not play the Paladin, even though it does have some strong cards. I am going to just see what the two players are planning to queue next time. But yeah, it's, you know, you've got that extra little bit of tech that you don't usually have in an arena series. You know, there are that... thoughts that you have to take into account that there are going to be different heroes, and it's going to be black to blind queuing potentially again.
I mean, I'm always in favor of leading with the strongest deck, but Wijkert was obviously not of that mind. He wanted to your deck, I think, so he might end up going with the Warrior as his next pick.
So Storm has decided to stick with the Paladin. He's decided on that. I'm just waiting to see what Rijkaard's going with.
If Wijkert goes with the Warrior, I think Storm might be a slight favorite. The Warrior deck is very strong. I think the Paladin might be. It's going to depend on the Spellstones, I think, with this Warrior deck. He does have board clears like Whirlwind and Warpath that should do well, obviously against in the Paladin matchup. Yeah, it's going to be about hitting weapons and the Spellstones, I think.
Yeah, well, it's not just about hitting the weapons. You know, he does have an option of getting the board early with some of his minions, but it's you know, the wood axe definitely does go a long way for him. And if he has the Spellstone in hand at the same time as well to gain the buff, then he's going to be very happy. I'm just literally waiting to hear from him to see which deck he's going to queue now. And then we can move on from there. If you wouldn't mind... he's decided to go with the Warrior, which is what you obviously guessed he would go with, so that's nice to see. Yeah, so if you're happy to, we'll just get straight into the next game. I'll get them to queue. Okay then, so... Dun, dun, dun.
It'll be interesting to see how Wijkert approaches the mulligan here if he gets the. I know there is with Collins and Shady, they tend to be fans of keeping the Spellstones in hand, and I think with the way that the meta has sort of slowed down, I think that's definitely even a more viable strategy than
it potentially. So Shady and Collins was actually playing Warrior today, and against Hunter of all classes, and they kept Spellstone, and they ended up losing that game. Not necessarily directly as a result of that, but they were. Shady even said at the end, you know, he wasn't sure he played it optimally, and he wasn't sure about keeping the Spellstone with the right play. So it was definitely a consideration. But we're into the match now, so I've got the mulligans popping up.
With Wijkert here, I would expect him to keep at least definitely the War Axe. I think you probably also keep the Scarlet Crusader. He doesn't have that many twos, I noticed that both of these players are kind of shifting back to the kind of the KNC mindset of not worrying about 2s quite as much and focusing on strong 3s and 4s.
Yes.
So I would expect him just to throw the Whirlwind here. I think it's probably going to be a full mulligan for Stormscryer.
So Storm has done the full mulligan. He has thrown them away. I think Wijkert is just holding off for us, so I'll maybe just drop him a message saying it's okay.
Not quite this long. Just a few seconds. That's all we need. But yeah. And if you haven't already, make sure you give Stormscryer. You can catch him over on Of Murlocs and Men. If one of the mods can put them in the channel. Oh, there we go. We've got the link from Richie. And you can also check out Wijkert. I'm not sure how much he streams. I know he did do some streams here for these drafts, but he's on with Shady quite often. You can catch him over on Shady's channel. He does opt to just keep the War Axe, and he ends up with a Spellstone.
Yeah.
So this is, and he does end up with a Volatile Elemental as well. So it's a pretty good starting hand for Wijkert, and of course he's going first. And as we all know from watching Crypt, that means he's automatically going to win.
I haven't actually watched much Crypt. Is that something he says quite regularly? Or?
It's kind of a meme on his channel. Whenever he loses, it's always good.
That's brilliant. I love that. So what do you think about the secret being played on turn 1?
It's the Noble Sack, right?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, Noble Sack has been fine for me. We'll see how it does with post 11.1 changes. I think it probably is still a fine 1-drop. That it's in a bucket where it's kind of going to be the best pick most of the time, and I don't mind leading with it at all. You just basically treat it as a 1-mana 2/1.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's completely fair enough. I kind of value maybe trying to... Yeah.
Until the warrior can show you that he has a weapon, I'm okay.
No, that's completely fair.
If it's a rogue, maybe there's a different consideration.
I think I maybe overvalue trying to protect minions later on with it, when they actually have more flexibility because they're higher cost to be able to play around it. So maybe, yeah, playing it first time is always the correct play. Well, majority.
It's a bit of an awkward turn for Storm because he wants to coin the Spider Tank here, but then his follow-up turns are kind of weak.
I don't mind coining the Spider Tank because you've obviously got the Hero Power and Hand of Protection to follow up, so you could Hero Power and Hand of Protection the 3/4.
This is probably going to be a tell. I mean, Wijkert probably knows the secret already is most likely a Noble Sack, but this is definitely a tell here because, well, he opts to move that one in. I'm not sure I would have done that there. I think maybe if he'd have thought about that a little bit longer, he would deduce that the opponent wouldn't play a 3. Well, I guess if it's Redemption, though, it's basically the same. So maybe this worked out.
So he only takes 1 extra damage this way. It's same outcome, right? Yeah, it's just 1 extra damage.
Nice top deck here from the Storm, and that's going to be... we'll see how much he decides to clear here. He probably does clear at least 1 dude.
So he's just gone and drawn the Lone Champion, which obviously you're giving a Divine Shield to a 1/1, but it's a Taunt as well as a Divine Shield. So would you value that over the 4-drop, which develops the 2/4 and the 1/1s? I think I'm
okay playing on curve, especially with the Rock there. Like you force him to. You want the 1/1s out, I think, to contest the Divine Shield against the double 1/1s. Does he clear a dude actually?
So would you, in this case, would you be thinking Crystal Lion? Would this be something crossing your mind?
The thing is, like, you can't play around it, though. Like,
no, yeah.
So I'm okay, I think, with holding the weapon here. Like, kind of one of the old school rules about playing against Paladin is that if you can't clear his entire board, then just don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay. I like that rule. That is quite a good rule to work on.
I think I heard Trump say that way back.
So by not killing a 1/1 though, it kind of gives him the extra 1/1, right?
It gives him an extra dude, yeah.
As you say, you can't really play around. Yeah, you can't really, but it's a consideration, right? You know, by not removing a 1/1, they've now technically got. It's like that 1/1 is duplicated and become 2 1/1s. So, yeah.
So this is a bit of a tough spot right now for Wijkert. It's the without having Blood Razors or one of those Warpaths, or I guess it's just the one Warpath. You know, this is one of those spots where you're getting against Paladin, where you need those AoEs to come back. He is just going to go with the Rock here. He's probably going to
hit the shield off or not?
I don't know if you bump the shield. He still can't Steed just yet. So, but he could play, you know,
Would a
Bells.
Fungalmancer make you reconsider bumping the shield, though?
Fungalmancer is another one there.
Yeah.
This shield is pretty scary if he's able to...
I think I'd leave him with a 1-1 and remove the shield with a weapon. And he's gone for that play as well. Yeah, it's just... Obviously, there's not many kings because of the bucket system.
It's so punishing. Yeah, there's not that many kings, but you're right. Fungalmancer... We do see that he has the Defender of Argus, and he's going to be able to rebuff it with the Hand of Protection. So, still going to get a pretty nice trade into the 4/7 here.
So would you kill the 4/7, or would you trade into the 2/3, then Hand of Protection it?
I think I would. I think I would hand and just kill the 4/7.
Okay.
Just take the bigger threat off the board. I don't think you have to get too cute here.
So, with the line of play here, obviously he's leaving himself with a 6/6 and a 2/3 rather over a 2/4. But the other line of play, you're leaving yourself with a 2/2 taunt and a 6/4 Divine Shield against a 4/7. You know, it just feels like it's a bit of a stronger board. You don't want to push the 4/7 into the 2/2. But you obviously can't deal with the Divine Shield, and he showed earlier that he couldn't deal with the Divine Shield quite efficiently. So, I don't know. It's really hard to judge what is obviously the more optimal play, but I think I favoured the other play. But yeah, we'll see how he follows up now. See, even just having this 6/6 here is a bit more difficult to deal with, right?
Yeah,
so
this is just a really awkward spot at the moment for Wijkert. He's just going to kind of have to hold on here. It would be nice to have had the Spellstone buff once more here, but he might be forced. Well, he does have, depending on how... I mean, he's got the Steed, obviously. So I think this game is just... There's too much quality, I think, coming from the Paladin at the moment. And I don't think the Warrior is going to have the tools that he needs to come back here. There is an Execute in the deck. That would be a pretty good top deck here. Yeah. Staying on the face. So there is the Execute that we get, so that's not bad. That's a good start.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So he can execute, and if he wanted to, he could play the Worgen to full clear the 2/6, and then armor up. He could also just play the Hoarding Dragon and maybe bump the 2/6.
Yeah, I know, like, it's a running thing that Palin doesn't necessarily have reach, but that's kind of changed a little bit these days. So I kind of like removing the 2/6 and leaving with the 4/5 and the 3/1, and you know.
So that execute is a pretty huge top deck. That's probably the best card in his deck right there.
Yeah, it definitely.
Not sure. Still not sure if it's going to be enough here. We see the Silver Sword draw, and it's just kind of, you know, the Stormwind into the Silver Sword into the Stonehill into Tarim is probably just going to be...
Tarim here.
I know it's a meme. I know it's a meme, but it's a meme for a reason, man. It just happens.
I don't know if you saw my run, but I played 13 Stonehill Defenders in one run as Paladin, right? I hit 10 legendary minions, 5 Tarims, 4 Tirims, and 1 Lich King.
Such a silly card, man. It's such a silly card. I did notice that looking at some of the stats on HS Replay with the 11.1 changes, Stonehill Defender is not out there quite as much, and I think that bears out from what I've seen from stream so far. But still, like, when you do hit it, especially in Paladin, it's just
yeah, it's a very strong card.
Shady Pala clap. The Arcanite, it will buff the Spellstone, but it's just this 6 health on the Stormwind. It's just a little bit awkward at the moment. He can, like, he could trade in the 4/5 and kill the Stormwind and then play a lone champ, and then he has the Spellstone next turn. That might be the line he ends up going with here.
Oh yeah, do you know what? I was trying to think of a way. If only this lone champ was activated, but of course this activates it, don't it? So I do like this play. You do go lower,
just
but I like it
because he's putting 9 mana into, or 9 health, or excuse me, 9 power into a 6 health minion. But you kind of need to clear that Stormwind and hope that the Spellstones are going to swing you back here. It's still a really tough spot for him, but you know, putting 3 5/5s out on the board is not a bad turn at all.
Exactly, it's delaying for that.
It's like pick your poison here on which is probably going to be the Vine Cleaver.
Because obviously Palin struggled to ping off a shield, so this is just delaying making Storm's turn suboptimal to set up the Spellstone.
Stonehill here, huh? For me, I would want to develop the Vine Cleaver. What is this Stonehill defective? There's no Tarim in this pack.
Hey, it's an Etin. It's an Etin. See, this is one thing about it, right? Obviously, hitting those legendary minions is amazing, but you're still hitting strong taunts. Chengang is still a strong taunt. Etin is still a strong taunt, you know?
I'm really interested here, though. I mean, tell me, what do you think about this play? I mean, I'm just looking at this Vine Cleaver, and it just seems to match up with the board so well. He's got an Arcanite Reaper. I know you're only leaving, like, 2 dudes on the board, but maybe that's what he's worried about. He's like, well, if I have the 3 Spellstones that come out, but I don't know. I mean, you have 3 spells or 3 5/5s coming out from the Spellstone is going to be tough at any time.
It is.
He wants to set up the Silver Sword here. That's obviously what he wants to do.
It's definitely setting up the Silver Sword. He probably just wants to, before he commits to developing a weapon, want to know which one's the best. And at this point in time, he probably felt that it wasn't gaining him much just having 2 1/1s on the board against the 2/3. But yeah,
are we calling it? Are we close to calling it a?
Very close. This is half of his HP on the board right now.
It's not lethal. He's actually 1 off. I thought it was lethal, but he has the armor up. Because he was going to be able to buff with the Silver Sword and push 6 face, but the armor up just keeps him alive. So he's just 1 off lethal here. He's probably going to go all face and say that, hey, you got to put up a taunt or else I'm killing you next turn. And even with the triple golems coming out here, this is the problem from falling behind early. That 8 face that he got from the steeded minion earlier. This the face race that Storm was staying on there, even though he top decked the execute, this is starting looking like it might pay off.
Yeah, it's what we noticed last series, you know, the of Murloc's men players do kind of know when they can just switch it up and put the pressure on, and I quite liked it earlier on. You know, a lot of people would have traded.
And this is going to pay off for him in the end. He did get the trip, and like this game was so close to stabilizing here for Wijkert. Like there was just a couple awkward turns here. If he had had a Warpath or even a Whirlwind at certain points in this match. Cleave as well. Cleave early on would have been much better to deal with the dudes. But the early lead from just getting out the Lost in the Jungle into the dude, and then the two mana Crystal Lion, I think is really what put this game just a bit out of reach, even with the triple golems there at the end. But very close match. I thought this was kind of a runaway for a little bit, but we had the nice execute top deck and almost pulled it back for Wijkert.
I know.
You can see the strength of this deck. If he gets a little bit more of the early weapons or board clears, I think this warrior still has very, very strong potential. Obviously going 11 wins with the Shady co-op, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so as you say, just so close. Even though the HP line didn't say it, like just one extra health, not even necessarily 1 extra turn. 1 extra health could have been enough to just stabilize.
Well, it'll be interesting to ask. It'll be interesting to ask Storm later about that because it did seem like a very obvious Vine Cleaver, but maybe I just tunneled in on that, and he was looking at the setup with the Silver Sword and pushing for lethal. So that might be one thing to ask him at the end.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Storm has confirmed he is playing Warlock next, so I'm just waiting to see from Wijkert what he's going for now. But yeah, so man, I just get excited when it's a close game, and I get excited when the matches are going back and forth as well. I love we've had it go full best of 5 so far. So obviously it's still early to call it, but I'd love for it to go full best of 5 again. Yeah, so it's. You know, I'm enjoying this. It's nice to see, 2 top arena players go against each other and do different plays from what I would do, you know, maybe draft slightly differently to what I would do. But yeah, it's...
Did Wijkert say he's sticking with the warrior?
No, he's actually just confirmed he's changing to the paladin, he is. So it'll be nice to see him switch out a class and bring back the warrior again another time. So, yeah, so I'm happy to get these guys to queue if you haven't got anything to add.
And what class did you say for Storm?
So Storm is bringing the Warlock.
Okay.
Wijkert is bringing the.
This is Paladin. One of those. This is one of those that the way that the Warlock deck is set up, it can be a very good potential counter to what Wijkert is going to want to do because he doesn't have like a super ham early game. In this Paladin, so if Storm is able to get to the Lord Godfrey and the Dreadlord and these other nice tools that the Warlock has, he might be in a little bit of a favored position.
Yeah, so Shady, before they changed the patch, actually, I believe it was, he went 2-12 Warlocks in a row, going with more Zooey type of drafts rather than Control.
But then he did say, I think the other day, that post changes he's actually not having quite as much luck with Zoo.
That's correct.
And that was if you watch the draft that I think Storm actually drafted this with Sam. and they were like, it started out in a very clear control direction, but then it sort of shifted in the middle, and they picked up the Fungalmancer, they picked up the Summoning Portal, and so we'll have to see exact. I'm not sure. I think it's still a control deck, but it has some of these more like cards that you would associate with like a Zoo Flood style, but it doesn't have that much in the way of ones or twos. So we'll have to see how it goes. Wijkert does keep just the Alder here, which I think is correct.
Draws 3 weapons though. Oof.
Wow, this starting hand for Wijkert. Are you like, deck? What is going on right now? We talked about this beforehand.
Oh, don't worry. He's just drew a double taunt.
Okay, yeah, he's got the Terram in hand, so it's all fine. We're totally fine here. The Stone Test port opening here does put Stormscryer. It's one of the few sort of 1-drops, if you want to call it a 1. The Stoneheel's going to come down though and kind of counter the boar control. From
I was gonna make that joke, but I felt like I didn't have the right time to make it.
I went there, Richie, it's fine,
and I thought, is it overused?
I'll boldly go where no one should go.
Feels ball, man.
He decides to go with the Shadow Bolt here, but he doesn't really have another play. So we do see the Sludge in hand, picked up for, and well, you know,
it's gonna hit something.
Nothing, but then you know.
So
gonna be like,
obviously thinking ahead, you know, say Wijkert plays the True Silver Champion on turn 4, turn 5. Do you think you would hold the Sledge?
Yeah, that's gonna be the question.
It's tough, isn't it?
You're probably going to. We'll see.
We'll see, definitely. It's just something, because that's the first line I saw was like, ooh.
You're gonna be so worried about that. I think I don't know. Save what we saw in the first match, right? You save that ooze for the Vine Cleaver, and it's just such a big.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this was one of the interesting pickups here. I don't remember exactly what I think it was up against some pretty trash picks, but the Evan Dragonsmith, obviously with this hand, ends up being really, really strong. He doesn't probably have to go with it here. It's probably just going to be to develop the True Silver. And I think he's probably going to be really happy if Storm does play the Sludge back into it.
Yeah, I think you would be very happy to see a Sledge hit the True Silver when you've got those weapons in your hand, but yeah.
So he's already kind of hovering over the Sledge here. Looks like he's probably pretty happy to play it. So maybe he's not, obviously he can't see the hands like we can, so he's maybe just like, hey, I get to destroy a True Silver turret.
Slight grab. I would like a little bit more thought there, because he did just draw a 3-drop, meaning he could have played the Murloc and the Basilisk, and the Basilisk is a good card. Good card.
It's a good card. It's a little bit weaker with Direwolf already on board. But Wijkert, I think, is going to be very, very pleased to see that happen here. The Peacekeeper would be an okay play, but he does have a pretty good trade here with the Blessing of Might.
He does.
And he can follow it up with the Dragonsmith to potentially get a 6-mana sword or a 5-mana Vine Cleaver. We'll see which hits here.
Yeah, I completely understand this play, because being able to develop one of these weapons next turn is pretty good. Like, so either or of them. So he hits it on the Vine Cleaver, which is again.
5-mana Vine. You think this card will see play 5-mana Vine Cleaver?
Yeah, what do you name it though? It can't be the Stein Cleaver for 5 mana anymore.
Yeah, I know. Like you have to you'd have to add a couple extra to the moniker there. We see a Spellstone pick up here for Stormscryer. Still no Lord Godfrey, still no Despicable Dreadlord. He's going to want to see one of those cards coming out here pretty soon, though, because this board is... we've got a 5-mana Weapon of Destruction here coming down that's going to start overwhelming Storm here pretty soon.
So, would Storm see the buff on a weapon in the hand, you know, the glowing effect? I can't say I've seen this card much.
As far as I know, it does show it.
Okay.
It's not like the what's the one card, the Death Axe Punisher, the lifesteal or buff of random lifesteal minion in your hand, the one that never sees play.
Yeah.
That animation always goes off, no matter if you have a lifesteal minion in your hand. But
okay, I didn't know that.
I think the Dragonsmith actually does work correctly. Chad can obviously correct us here on that if they.
Yeah, because I was thinking I think it's the minion that, I'm not sure if it's in the rotation anymore, but it buffed a Death Rattle, and if you had it in your hand, it wouldn't show to the opponent that it buffed a Death Rattle.
And I think Storm is realizing that his best path here is going to be to dig for those board clear tools. Yeah. What he has right now, he could have gone with like the Getty and the Rockpool Hunter, but I don't know if that's going to be good enough, given what is coming his way now. I don't know. Like he needs to get to one of these good answers, and even then, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. The Paladin is in such a strong position at the moment.
Well, there's one, but what does he
Shadowflame
have?
is a nice pickup.
Yeah.
Of course, we've all at some point in our arena careers found out the hard way that Shadowflaming a poison minion does not, in fact, destroy the opponent.
Is that a dig at me? Is that a dig at me?
I'm sure there's no reason why the name Misplay Club would ever come into this discussion. But
I blame Roldy. He trolled me. He trolled me.
Yeah. always blame Roldy. But yeah, what do you do here if you're Storm?
I would probably just develop out. You know, hold back the Storm Shadowflame in hand. Obviously, you've got the Swift Messenger. You could merge with it at some point.
Now that you have the Shadowflame, now you need to do stuff to be able to use it, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, this is the power of Vine Cleaver. It's just like, well, I played a Yeti, but lol, like your Yeti is just gonna get eaten for lunch, man. He gets to develop the Grave Shambler as well here, I think, which is pretty strong. Getting a 5/5 for 4 down that doesn't start discarding your deck. So do you develop the Shard? The Shard is pretty decent to keep the 2/3 killing your dudes. So yeah, this is pretty clean turn here, I think. Oh, I'm surprised it didn't develop the Shambler. So what's the point in saving the Shambler here? Just kind of playing around AoE, I guess?
But probably that would be my trailer thought.
Wanting to bounce? Does he want to bounce?
I'm guessing he's going to bounce a minion and then maybe replay it or hold it.
Or maybe he's realizing now that,
Yeah, he could also be doing that, but you know, this guy is a top level player.
This is where you say, well, now I have to play the. I can't follow it up with him yet.
They're giving away the misplay secrets at the moment. Oh, so yeah, it looks like you're right. It looks like it did slip past him, you know.
Well, we can get our first. We're gonna have to come up with some sort of misplay of the day award or something. Like, we've got to capitalize on this misplay.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
This is definitely our first nominee for the misplay of the match award.
I like it. Good branding.
Our honorary misplay club membership that we can hand out as the consolation prize.
So many possibilities.
Is this going to be impactful here with the Shadow?
This is what I was just trying to think. He doesn't really have a great target for it at the moment.
So the Swift Messenger could potentially be good if it was a 6/2, but it's not a 6/2.
Well, he can charge it. It survives. It's Rush and then Shadow Flame. Yeah. So it'd be a 2/2 after charging and then Shadow Flame it. But that's your whole turn.
That's probably not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's probably the line now that I look at it. Or he can just go, yeah, all right.
So if he's going with the Swift Messenger, he's only going to have he's going to go with the Spellstone, is it? Because he would have a 2/3 if he kept the Murloc around, which ain't going to be a major difference, is it?
He probably thinks it's just going to die to the Vine.
Yeah.
He is okay with taking a little more face damage here.
Yeah, So why do you think he went with the Spellstone rather than the Minion?
I think that's all it is. Like, he just doesn't want to give up another minion to the Vine.
Okay. He doesn't really have many effects that actually build up the Spellstone either, so we might find the Spellstone's more awkward to fit in than the Messenger later down the line, so...
Yeah, so he's going to be really looking for... And
skillful draws!
Godlike Godfrey top deck that is going to potentially win the game for him here.
Oh.
His Silver Sword setup was so juicy looking for Wijkert, but now it is in shambles. This Lord Godfrey, man, it is showing up just right on time, and Stormscryer could not be happier. What a swing of events. And this is what we were talking about. This was the key. Could he get to one of these cards?
Yeah. And he was tapping for it. We saw him. Like, there were times where he was like, I'm going to play suboptimal minions just to tap a bit closer, you know? So, I like, you've got to say, obviously, he did just draw into it, but he put himself closer to that draw. So, I like to see it, you know?
Yeah, so now what do you do if you're Wijkert? You're kind of like, well, was my game plan.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
Just start putting more stuff out here. He still does have the Silver Sword.
He does.
He's got he's got a Steed left in the deck. He's got a Fungomancer. If he can draw well enough here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that much draw left. I don't think there are any Blessing of Wisdoms in the deck. So he is very close to running short on Steam here. And now this Sleepy Dragon is coming down and looking like a really tough spot here.
Yeah,
So
I
what
don't
can he
see any
do?
draw
I think you
mechanics.
have to develop the sword here
Yeah.
for sure. So he puts 3 in there. It comes to 4-9. He could technically no, he's actually 1 off from killing it. So you might just develop. You might just do and swing once with the sword. You're not that low on health yet.
Let me think.
Yeah, I think you've got to swing with it, you know. Then you can decide, do you trade or not? Are you worried about another AoE or not? It's tough to decide to hold. I think you would hold and force them to trade.
Yeah, because he can't. He doesn't have like. Yeah.
Because obviously, if Storm leaves minions alive, he knows there's a silver sword in play, and he knows they're getting bigger each turn.
He
So
has the, the Alder is at 4 health. It's not really vulnerable to Hellfire, so I think I'm okay. But yeah, the Silver Sword could do some still. The Warlock is at 17 life. He doesn't have any other of his board clears at the moment. So this is, this is the power of Silver Sword. As good as that turn was for with the Lord Godfrey top deck, if he just gets a couple more draws here, Fungalmancer maybe next turn, there at Steed, like there is still, some a very good percentage chance here for Wijkert.
yeah, it's definitely not over yet. But this is where the Warlock shines, now, isn't it? They've got some board mid presence. They've got a reasonable amount of total, and they've got. Not in this case, they wouldn't always have a full hand, but he's got a reasonable amount of cards, and he can draw into more cards with his hero power. So it's still an upward battle for Wijkert, definitely.
The Fungalmancer here, though, is going to be really clutch.
Yeah. Just keep that taunt alive. It protects your resources, your hero power, and puts pressure on. So it's
It's looking like the Fungalmancer, though, is going to seal out the game.
Yeah.
The victory is yours.
Yeah, that Lord Godfrey coming in right on time. Top deck up the match there for sure.
Yeah.
And as we see, Warlock is one of those classes that can counter the Donger. It's put Stormscryer. After that, we thought, with that Druid getting the Mossy Horror into the Swamp Ooze, destroying the Vine Cleaver in game 1, we thought Wijkert is in a very, very favorable position, and I think he was at the time. But, Stormscryer has a good lineup here, and he's been able to swing it back to a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, so it's obviously we've still got a minimum of 1 match to go, and then obviously if Wijkert wins this, we go to the final. But obviously if Storm takes this win,
as we talked about at the beginning, though, now Storm has to go to his road. We haven't, and
this is the one you thought might be restraining him, right?
Against both the Paladin and the Warrior. I don't know, man. We'll have to see how this goes, but I have some questions about if this rogue can get it across the finish line. Like he doesn't have. I don't think there's any weapon destruction, so he doesn't have an ooze for a big swing on a Vine Cleaver. He just has the 1 minstrel. Like he has survivability, but I don't know if that's the game plan that you want as being the rogue here. I'm not totally sure. He's got the Primordial Drake, the Lesser Onyx Spellstone. The Assassin's Blade is a little bit weird. I don't remember exactly. Let me see. What did he take that over here? Assassin's Blade. I don't remember for sure. I think it was up against some garbage. Yeah, we're going to have to see how this one plays out. The Double Perdition's Blade is pretty good.
Well, we can just. I'm just waiting to hear back from Wijkert what if he's keeping the Paladin or changing. So we can just jump over to have a quick look at the deck lists of Storm right now. So he is sitting on. So Wijkert's keeping the Paladin, yeah. So we got the Rogue list up on stream now. So yeah, he dropped one of the Brewers for a Shenzhen, and as you said, he's got some stuff to deal with Paladin cards, right? He's obviously got the Sap, which can obviously just completely ignore a Steed. But yeah, so we'll just jump into the game now. We'll go back to this. We'll get them to queue. Keeping a Paladin against Rogue. No more Talkstone at all. just a couple of seconds while the players actually queue in. But yeah. But yeah, hey, Talkstone is a great theme, Hey, Shady gets very popular Talkstone views. Collins, people love Collins Talkstone, So yeah.
Anybody got any cool story Collins in the chat here? Let's do some cool story Collins there. All right, so we've got the Noble Sack in hand here. Now, Vine Cleaver in hand. This is Okay, he throws it right away. He even throws the Noble Sack, which is interesting. I guess against the Rogue, it's not that strong of a keep, so I can understand throwing the whole hand there. But Vine Cleaver is one of those cards I've seen in certain matches where you might hold on to it. But against the Rogue, I think it's definitely fine.
Yeah. So we got Storm, who's probably. Would you hold the sap? I would hold the sap against Paladin, right? And you've even got a Gastropod and a Pixie to follow up. So he
has the early curve. Do you even keep the Primordial?
Oh, do you know what? That is actually a very good consideration, right? You know, you've got the early curve, you've got an answer for a big buff.
You've got your 2 and your 3 drop. I don't know if it's like the most insane thing to do there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is something I hadn't noticed before. You've got the Argent potential Blood Knights in here.
Oh, yeah.
The Divine Shield's probably not going to be around.
Probably not, but yeah, that is very true.
Do you just coin the dagger here and start working down this Squire? He's looking at dropping the Stubborn. I don't know if you want to coin the Stubborn here, though. If I'm gonna coin, I think I coin the dagger. What do you think?
You coin the... yeah, probably. It works out very similar, right? But
getting the rogue, getting the dagger developed, I think early like this against the paladin is usually a good idea. It just counters the squire so well.
Reporting for duty.
Pretty clear turn 2. I mean, this is kind of what the way that both Storm and Wijkert like to build their paladins is not really that many 2-drops. Just, be okay with making a dude on 2 or maybe
it's if you have the 1-drops in your deck, then I think it's okay to just do a dude on 2. If you're not getting the 1-drops, then I feel like it's obviously a bit more risky, right?
Yeah. This Gastropod is going to be pretty annoying here. He doesn't have a way to deal with it at the moment, so he's probably just going to develop the Jhin and hold the dude. I think that's probably the okay line here. It's not a bad start at all, though, for the Rogue. I mean, he's got a Basilisk coming down next turn. He's got the Minstrel in hand to kind of refill things here.
He's got a Pixie he could play next turn.
Which one do you go with? You go with Pixie or Basilisk?
I think I would take the Basilisk and kill the 1/1, go greed here, right? Because you've shown he couldn't deal with it before. And not many. We've seen a True Silver champion.
Yeah, exactly. I think he has seen the True Silver, right? Because
he has, yes, yeah.
So I think he might. Well,
I would still go with it. It's pretty much just the True Silver champion, right? And the True Silver champion will kill the taunt, not the 3/4, right?
He is gonna go with the greedy line, though.
Yeah.
And just say
double poison, yeah. It's safer. I suppose there's not really a punish for this with True Silver. Maybe it's just me trying to get the poison later out in the game. So yeah.
The Lone Champ is an interesting pickup here. This I might be tempted to go. I think the 2/4 always trades into the 1/1. You just have no other way of getting around this.
And
I do think you force the Rogue to dagger to get through the Lone Champ here. Yeah. This Basilisk, showing the power of Basilisk here. And he's got more poison minions on the way. And right now, before we're getting to the Vine Cleaver, just keep playing poison minions.
Yeah. So obviously people say that Rogue is kind of the way to deal with Paladin, but just any class with this kind of start, the poison's just contesting the minions is
and
difficult.
It's such a good top deck too because he gets to dagger up. Yeah. So far the deck is drawing really well here for Storm.
Oh my gosh.
And he's now you've got Valkyr and Fungomancer just. So
yeah, it's tough, right? So do you freeze a minion and freeze one of the poisons and develop the 3/3? You
might actually if you're gonna freeze anything, you probably face just so you can't dagger down the shard.
Yeah. Oh no, true. Of course. Yeah. Why would you freeze a minion? 100%. You wanted these minions to go away, so you want to take out the dagger.
But the question is whether you play the Shambler or I think you do shard, but because it matches up so well against the Gastropod. But then the question is, do you play the Knight or do you play the Shambler? You probably just need to bite the bullet and go with it. It is tempting to go with the Knight, but
what's the punish for playing the Knight though, and what's the benefit of keeping the 4/4? It's tough, right?
Yeah,
which one do you keep?
Without access to the dagger, he can't do any sort of backstab or SI. So the Blood Knight is probably. There might be like some slight considerations for like mana efficiency later in the game.
Yeah, that's the only reason I could argue for playing the 4/4 is you want the mana efficiency with the 3/3 later on. But you've got weapons that synergize with this Gravedigger, and if the Rogue can't deal with it, it can become a threat.
Yeah.
So
So he doesn't have any real way to remove either of these outside poison minions. So do you just play a spider tank and a secret here? Do you develop your bubblies? I think you might develop the. It's still turn 6. You're not having to face Vine Cleaver.
So,
yet.
if
Maybe
you're
you just go
developing
with
the
the
sudden
bubblies here.
betrayal, I can't remember.
I don't think
sudden
there's a
betrayal.
point. To me, there's no point in doing the betrayal. I would rather save the betrayal for some sort of combo setup, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah.
The sudden betrayal was up against. Let's see, what was it up against in the draft? He took it over the
You did.
Pterodax hatchling, which at the time I probably would have taken the Pterodax just because I'm not like, sudden betrayal is just so.
No, yeah, the
bad,
secret,
like most
so-
rogue secrets. But the one key point, as we see in this hand, is that it is 1 mana cheaper for combo setups. So that may end up being.
So,
its
what do you
best.
think about not taking the trade here, right?
This is a really good draw here.
Exactly. Like, there is punishes. but minus...
Again, we aren't at the like Steed doesn't do anything. Like
Okay.
he's not punished by Steed, and he can't Vine Cleaver yet, right? So he knows the Vine Cleaver is on the way, and he just still has one more turn before he has to worry about it. So pushing the one face there is, I think, as the rogue, you do need to start getting aggressive here at some point
Okay.
because at some point the paladin's going to start hitting the cleaver and the sword.
Yeah.
You just don't want to be facing.
Yeah, no,
that
that's
now.
very true. That's very true.
Interesting that he goes. Yeah, he just goes with the trade here. He's gonna save the charger and maybe try to get something like a Blessing and Might, or maybe combo it with a Fungal Mancer later on.
Well, that's a decent draw for him, isn't it? So you can play the Pixie and the Paradigm's Blade, kill off the 4/4, and trade into the 1/1, leaving an empty board, and you've got a very
That's
strong
pretty
board,
clean.
isn't it?
Pretty clean. Yep.
Yeah.
And the rogue is on board here. It actually has a card advantage. He's got Primordial Drake. Primordial Drake is actually, the more I look at it now, maybe I overlooked the strength of a card like Primordial Drake in this deck, especially against Paladins.
Primal Drake is just one of those strong cards in pretty much all decks in it. Obviously you can't always fit it in every deck, but yeah, rarely is it a wrong pick.
Awkward position here. I mean, True Silver is a good top deck, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough here. The next turn is a little bit on the weak side. Well, for Stormscryer, he actually does get to draw and refill his hand most likely, so it's maybe not that weak. He could even potentially Cold Blood to start pushing face damage.
So the 3/4 charging into the 4/3, obviously, it leaves you with a 3/4.
But then the problem is that the 3/4 and the weapon take care of it pretty cleanly.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with developing the True Silver here. I think you have to get more of a swing out of the Charger following up with the True Silver next turn. Could potentially. Nah, I think you just develop the Betrayal and draw some minions.
Yeah, exactly. This hand's looking a bit, clunky right now in a way that it doesn't feel ideal to play these cards. So you just want to get different options.
The main question is here: do you? He actually opts to go with a trade there. That's really interesting because he
Rather
is
than the
facing
one-
down.
Were
he
you
is facing down
considering
True
Cold Blood
Silver.
aggression there?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Like, do you ever Cold Blood this and just start going ham on the face?
I agree with it. I agree with that. I like it. As you said, at some point the Paladin can just suddenly start developing value cards and weapons that start pressuring the rogue. So I think, you pressure.
This Ghostly Charger, again, to me, is one of my favorite cards added in the set. I think maybe there were quite a few people I thought that underrated it to begin with, but I think it's definitely shown out to be one of the strongest cards in the set. It's just the initiative that it gives you, and I think a lot of people might have looked at it and said, well, it can't go face, but
Yeah.
who really cares?
But look at
about
this.
that?
Look
You're
at this
leaving a
now.
3/4 body on the
Look at
board.
this board. It's completely switched. So because of that card, it's left him with a 3/4, and it's a 1/1.
You could develop a Primordial Drake here, just kind of keep the Paladin off the board. That seems like probably the strongest line. Maybe there's also
There's
to
an
go
Eviscerate
with,
play, isn't there? I don't know if it's
with the Eviscerate draw, maybe now.
Yeah.
And
Because you can get the Loot Order out, which is a form of cycle and extra stats, split over 2 different minions, which means your Cold Blood has better targets, and you have an option.
It is nice. It is nice having a little bit of
Yeah.
spread against.
I think I prefer it the more I think about it. Eviscerate is more versatile than the Drake, but this just gives you more options down the line, I feel, with the ability to spread the damage when you've got a Paradigm's Blade and Cold Blood in hand. So I think I favour the split.
Quickly.
He's going with the Drake.
Okay. This does preserve a lot of flexibility. I mean, this is a very, very flexible hand. You get the big cost minion out of your hand, and you just set up any sort of, any number of possibilities of plays coming up.
Yeah.
Well, Stonehill Defender's one of these cards that can kind of, just throw a random Lich King into the match.
Yeah.
And see what we get,
Oh, got to love this card.
The power of the Donger is, you really can't stress how much this. It's really. I mean, I guess it can get Lich King in any class, but
you can.
Stonehill's
But it's just
such a silly
so
card.
many targets to hit in Paladin. Like, even if you don't have the Lich King here, right? The Apple Bomb is still a good card. This is what I'm saying. You have these high cards to hit, but you also have these above, like average or above average cards to hit as well, which just makes it an insane card.
But I think he takes a little bit longer there to think things, just to maybe give the opponent the sense that, well, maybe he didn't discover Terra.
Exactly.
Snap pick would probably way. Oh, he does interesting. He decides to preemptively might the target here. Huh. That's.
Do you
really
think that's just so that he has a bit more of a smooth curve next to him with the King and Hero Power if he decides to go with that line?
I'm not sure. Like on board, the rogue can't get through. But then what?
It's
like
a nice
if he
clean
gets,
wipe
if he
here,
uses if he uses the dragon and 2 damage from hand, putting 4 damage on the Drake. I don't know, with the Fungomancer in hand.
It's tough. We'll have to ask him about it for sure. But obviously, with this line of play, I think you were going to see maybe an Eviscerate and a Paradigion's Blade come out, but you've obviously got to activate them first, and you get a full board wipe here then. Minus the 2-1, actually. Am I misremembering something? Yeah. So how would you deal with a 2-1? You would use your weapon on it, and you
Yeah.
So you leave him with a
weapon in.
Yeah, no, I did remember this right. I did. I thought I got this right. I was like, you get a full board wipe, and then I was like, wait, no, I'm getting an extra attack somewhere. But yeah, you do get the full board wipe.
Maybe Wijkert just felt that, like, oh, well, I don't really want to play this might, but I don't know. It's
egg just drawn. That might
maybe
could have been a
inconsequential
difference.
Here. I think the turn is pretty clear here. You're going to play Lich King and hope that you can get some Death and Decay to start bringing you back here.
But he does have a Fungomancer in hand, but the egg draw could obviously been a target for the might, so it is interesting.
I mean, you could egg and dude and Fungomancer, but he still deals.
Yeah, no, I wasn't on about that turn. I was on about
It's
the
just,
might preemptive.
Against a rogue, obviously you're worried about playing, but I don't know. I feel like you're in a weird enough spot here that maybe I would just drop Slam the Lich King.
Yeah.
It looks like he maybe is going to go with the egg dude Fungomancer line. It just doesn't. No, he's okay. I think at the end this is the right play. I don't think you can afford this play.
No, exactly.
Or a Vile Swine. You just have to say, well, can you deal with this
does he
guy?
get?
And at the worst, you're going to get a card that is not bad here. Obviously, the Steed and the Wijkert and the Sword are still in the deck, so the Army of the Dead might.
Cheap removal
we'll
here.
See exactly what it's going to bring out. And he does top deck the Sap.
He does,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, wow, this is... Now, sapping a Lich King is not the best feeling in the world. You obviously want to sap Steed instead. But, that is the thing. Yeah, this is the consideration with Sap, is that you're just giving him an extra card, right? Like, you might as well just remove this if you can, and the Cold Blood is in a pretty good spot there. And, I think we're just going to have to get some good Army of the Dead RNG.
Would you would drop the egg first, right? So you get a 5/5 on the board, right? Does that it remove it pops the egg?
No, you're thinking of Doom Pack.
Oh, sorry.
This is Army of the Dead, so it's going to pull 5 cards out of the deck, and if they're minions, they're going to put them on the board. The thing is, with the Vine Cleaver and the Sword, and the Steed, I don't know that you can. I think you have to take the risk though. Like you just can't worry about that. You're far enough behind now where I think you just. I think I would put the Army of the Dead, but maybe he feels like if he can get the egg plus, he is going to go with the Fungomancer. Interesting. Okay. I guess the buff on the Wolf. I wasn't thinking about the buff on the Wolf. That is decent against the 4 health of the Marsh Drake, but yeah, this is still there is a Consecrate still left in the deck. That would be obviously a great top deck coming up here probably.
So the question is, would you consider using the sap on the egg here?
I don't think so. I think I still just save that first.
No, I think I would have thought that myself, and I would have saved it. I was trying to think, is there a reason why you would?
At this point, you're just pretending that the.
Oh, he is going for it. Okay.
He just says, "All right, you don't have a Steed. I'm just going to take any sort of
Well, he knows for a fact that it's not a steed in hand, it's a king card if he's been monitoring, which
That's true. Of course, there's no steed.
Yeah.
I just think I might want to keep it for insurance
In case
I
he
feel
does.
like I feel like I'm in a strong enough spot here. All right, so let's see what the Army of the Dead pulls. It does pull 4 minions, and it
Ooh.
just discards the Noble Sack. That's about as good as you can
Yeah,
get.
that
given
is
what we see
very
in the
good.
deck. So this is a very, very strong swing here, and with what Stormscryer has in hand, he's got the 13 damage on the board. He can swing for 1. The Hench Clan grows. He is 2 off lethal at the moment.
Very close.
So, he does have the dagger swing. Is this the point where as the rogue you're like, all right?
So,
I've gotta
2
go
mana
for broke
card, he could get a charge, right?
here. I think he's going for broke here, right? He realizes I just have to go face.
He would get the
Well,
bluegill
There's
potentially
a
as lethal.
chance. There's a chance he might trade into the 4/3 here. Because it is a very, very... I guess you should see what you get from the...
Oh, you could get the direwolf. He would have missed lethal if you get to direwolf, right? It's a 2-cost minion, right?
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about...
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Wow, if he gets the direwolf, we might have to update our misplay board here.
Okay, it's not.
Barbara Smith. Okay, that could be clutch actually. He is not that high on health himself here, and if Wijkert has a way to deal with the 3/1, he is going to use the Spellstone.
Oh,
and it
that
hits
is
the
a
sneaky
hit.
Devil. Oh, now he's more than comfortable because now the opponent really has to have a good would Silver Sword even save him here? I don't think Silver Sword would even have been enough.
I don't.
He's too low.
believe
He's too
so,
low
right?
to swing in, and I think it's just GG here.
Don't.
Steed, Vine Cleaver, and Silver Sword are in the last 9 cards of the deck, and that looks like that's what's going to decide at least this game. We'll see
Basic
what he gets
totem,
out of
taunt.
the-
He gets a taunt. I think he can. I think he can live, right? One
Is there a way to live
1
here?
HP with a taunt.
He just has everything's at 4 health for.
Yeah, no, I
for
think you're right. I
Yes,
think
3 attack guys. He can humility the 5/4. I just don't think. Let's see, 2/4 there. He needs to kill probably the Hench Clan. Kill the Hench Clan, and then I don't think it's
no.
enough.
He's just if 1 minion was at 3 attack, it'd be
Yeah,
enough.
it's
But
just,
yeah,
it's just not enough.
it's just short.
And it looks like Stormscryer is going
Victory is yours.
3-1. And the question in the end that we thought about the rogue deck, turns out having a couple perditions and having a good early curve with.
Oh, I've lost you there. Hello? If you could repeat that again, you seem to muted for a little bit.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Are we good?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You just literally stopped after you mentioned rogue. So if you just want to repeat that.
The one deck that I had the question about ended up being the one that sealed it out. I mean, we saw the strength of the early gastropod into the basilisk into another gastropod, and that was enough. The early curve there, even though they were not the highest pressure minions as far as pressuring the paladin's life total, those poison minions, Wijkert just didn't have a way to deal with them, and in the end, maybe if he draws the Vine Cleaver or the sword or even the steed, maybe we see a different match there, even with that really, really good Army of the Dead. But props to Stormscryer on a well-played series, and he was able to pull it out.
Played very well. Both players played very well. There was one play we were unsure about, wasn't there, at least? Or was it on Wijkert's side? We were also unsure about one on Storms, but we kind of decided he was trying to accomplish something.
The preemptive blessing of mine. Yeah, we can ask him about that in a minute.
I feel like there was one other as well that we were unsure about, but we'll see.
Well, we had the ordering on the Grave Shambler in the one game.
Yeah. So what I'll do is now I'll get the players onto chat, and they can go through their plays. They can go through what they think went well and what think they didn't. So we'll get them in. Hey, Storm and Wijkert, how's you doing?
Hey, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations, you got the win.
Yeah, congrats, Storm.
It felt like close all the way through. It did feel
Yes.
very close. We were unsure about your rogue. Like, obviously, rogue is very strong place at the moment, and we weren't sure if that would be the class that let you down. But obviously, you did manage to close it out there against the paladin. So we'll start with Wijkert. What do you think could have maybe gone different, or what you could have done different?
Not sure. Maybe if I rewatch the games, there's something.
Yeah,
but-
it's a bit hard on the spot to think about it always, isn't it? No,
Yeah.
that's completely understandable. There is
I know-
one question
I know,
we've got in regards to you preemptively buffed your taunt with a Blessed and Might. I don't think it's a major thing. We're just wondering what went through your head there in regards to the preemptive buff.
Well, I'm behind, so in my mind, I can probably not win if he has a good hand with Sap, Eviscerate, stuff like that, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just assuming he doesn't have that stuff,
Okay.
and then I don't want him to free hit into my 1/6. I just want, if he hits in, I can trade back. So maybe he doesn't hit in, and I have more time to draw.
Yeah.
Basically, I wanted to deal 3 damage to the dragon.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. That does make complete sense.
Like
Yeah.
it also made for a quite complicated turn there, like figuring out the right way to solve that board state.
Yeah, you did draw into a very helpful tool that turn, right? I can't. Was it the weapon
Was it
or
the
something?
Eviscerate.
Eviscerate you drew
was
into.
the Abyss on
Yeah.
from the top or the blade? I think it was the Abyss, right?
Yeah, I think so. It gave you the ability to fully wipe the board then, where you potentially didn't have the option to before. But yeah, it was obviously you were at a favourable point in that match. So how do you feel it went on your side, Stormscryer?
Yeah, like against Paladin, you always feel you have to keep him off the board. I mean, I've seen in the first match that he has Steed. So I also know he has a Vine Cleaver and a sword. So yeah, I pretty much feel on the edge like all the time there. But there comes the point where you just have to give up the board and look to finish the match because you can't completely keep him off the board forever.
Yeah.
And maybe I feel like it took me a bit too long to go aggressive or for the finish there. If that
With
makes
the
sense.
rogue or?
Yeah, with the rogue.
I didn't notice what I was going to say in regards to you deciding to put on pressure. You did that. You spotted that quite well in the Paladin Warrior match, I felt, there was a turn where I think you buffed with a Steed and you just push face instead of like killing his minion. Obviously, this is Warrior, it's different, and then he ended up drawing an Execute. But if you didn't push that damage and you did trade, that would have been 6 damage. No, an extra.
8.
Yeah, was it 6 or 8? 8 damage that would have been put on his face, and he was literally like one turn
He was
off.
so
just
close to stabilizing.
yeah. Oh, I love that match. That was my favorite match there.
I mean,
Well, that was the
I've
closest one for
been
sure.
in a similar position last week with my warrior, which actually didn't get any wins
Yeah.
because I had to use the weapons to clear stuff and ended up on too low health all the time.
Yeah.
So I figured, no, if he does have the execute, he still needs another weapon to make the clear here.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have the execute, he doesn't have a way to deal with that minion.
And at the time, he didn't. He didn't have the XP at the time.
No,
and
came from
even
itself.
even with the top deck execute, it didn't completely swing because I still was on the board.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, that's the play we were. I was thinking of. So he had the 2/4 lone champion, and you choose not to play one of your weapons. Your
Vine Cleaver. You
yeah,
had
your
the option
Stein
to go Vine
Cleaver.
Cleaver, but instead you decided to go like Stonehill and
Spread.
then a couple other things to try to set up for the Silver Sword, and it ended up being correct in that case because it did allow you to push for Leafland. Talk about your decision making a little bit there.
Yeah, like even during that turn, I thought, wait, maybe just having the 1/1s around would have been better because like I also push an extra damage with the Silver Sword on, with the Vine Cleaver over the Silver Sword on that turn. So I
Interesting.
wasn't sure if it even makes a difference on the next turn.
Well,
It
sorry, you go
Go
ahead
ahead.
now.
it just felt so good against the 2/4, but
Yeah.
like I probably it ended up being the right setup in the.
So what I liked from Wijkert's play on that turn is obviously by developing the lone champion and taking the damage with his weapon, even though I think he traded an Arcanite Reaper and I can't remember, but like a lot more damage
He
into the
needed-
minion.
He
Yeah,
needed to
Yeah.
set up the third golem on the spellstone and remove the storm.
and I really
Storm-
like that
Storm
because
had to die, even though it was overkill.
it was delaying you, Storm, a turn, so that he would be able to develop all his 5/5s to then be able to put pressure on you. And as we said, it came to so close that, you know, maybe... Obviously, you ended with full HP, but the armor hero power from the warrior was so close to just bringing him back, you know. There was literally... It wasn't even necessarily one turn. If there was some way he had extra 1 life during that match, he could have just had the turns to be able to just build up and then you know, have his 5/5s maybe finish off the game.
Yeah, I was hoping for it. Sound. I had Etten and Sunwalker in my deck, also some healing, I think.
Okay.
Shroom. I was basically fighting for board, using my life as a resource, and just be fine being at 1 health, but 0? No, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
in that
Go ahead.
match, I also got rewarded for not pre-hitting like the 2/4, because I thought about running the 2/1 in, because if he does have a whirlwind effect there, I get wrecked because he clears my entire board there.
Yeah. I believe you had 1 whirlwind effect in your deck, right? Which was literally
There
just the
was-
whirlwind card.
I
Or
think it was a warpath.
No,
as well.
2 at Warpath as well.
you had a warpath as well, okay.
It was a bit unfortunate not to draw either one of those.
Yeah, or a taunt, as you mentioned. So yeah, there were actually a few potential cards that would have, you know...
Yeah, actually mulliganed Whirlwind in my opening hand because I wanted to do something and I don't want to have a situational card.
Yeah.
But when he had 4 1/1s on board on turn 4, I wanted to.
You're like,
Whirlwind so
damn!
bad.
Exactly. So, can you guys talk a little bit? I think Storm about this last week, but Wijkert, you can give us your thoughts as well. What are your thoughts about drafting Warrior right now, given the 11.1 changes? I know you and Shady drafted this deck. You were trying to go for Blood Razors, but they just didn't show up. You did kind of get saved in the last few picks with the double Spellstones there, but any tips or thoughts about drafting Warrior right now?
Yeah, currently I wouldn't pick the clans. I think this deck was actually, even though it was on the 7th, right? That we drafted this one.
It was, I think, just prior to the changes, wasn't it?
Yeah, but most people speculated that they actually implemented changes 1 day early, because if you look at HS Replay, like the stats, you can see them like dipping or increasing on the 7th instead of the 8th. So
Okay.
we're not sure if it's before or after, but it doesn't really matter. Currently, I still think this Warrior is okay. It's just it has like pretty like clear weaknesses that can be exploited.
It
by the
does,
better
yeah.
classes. That's the problem, I think. Also, I would still go for stones if it's all possible. Otherwise, you're just
Well, I was saying, I think the Warrior actually has more win conditions than people think. You know, it like Wood Axe, Cutter's Axe alone is a very strong tool at the beginning, and then the Rush minions on top of that, and then you've got obviously the Berserker as well as being a win condition. So it just feels like, yes, Spellstone is a major swing, especially with the weapons. But you know, I think there's a potential that Warrior is stronger in this meta than people actually know, and it just needs a bit more work, you know, maybe more playtesting to get the optimal way of playing it, you know?
possibly. I would take every Berserker I can get, because that's just one way to kind of cheat a win in, right?
Yeah.
Because
It's
of
not all
Warpath
win
or
condition,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of broken sometimes.
Love
And
it.
Let me go ahead. Let me also pivot over to Stormscryer. I think one of the key moments, probably the key moment in the match, was the Godfrey top deck.
Oh, yes!
Why don't you, first of all, can you talk to us a little bit about what was going through your mind before and after that top deck, and also what are your overall thoughts on drafting Warlock currently in 11.
Like before that turn, my main thought was, God, I'm fucked. I have no way back, and
Let me ask you this. Let me add one thing. We noticed in the turns there was could have like played, I think, a Yeti and a 2/3, but you decided to like tap and Basilisk instead. Were you thinking I have to dig for Godfrey and my other board clears here, otherwise I'm screwed?
wait, was it that?
I remember there being a
was,
tap Basilisk turn. I'm pretty sure there was one turn.
Yeah, that was turn 5. So if I play the Yeti there and he just puts a steed on his minion, he gets a free kill on my 2/3, and I
Oh, was it
still
going into
can't
a
get
steed turn?
through
Okay, I guess I did. I thought.
through that minion.
All right. So then the Godfrey comes right in the nick of time, right?
Yeah, skill free.
But any because I noticed the way that you guys were drafting the deck, it looked like a pretty clear control deck at first, and then you kind of ended up with some of these like Fungalmancer and Summoning Portal. Can you talk to us a little bit about what are your thoughts in general when drafting Warlock?
Like if you get offered Dreadlords, just pick them every time you get them offered,
Such a good card.
and just go for a mid-rangey style. Like with Warlock, you can mid-range, like a Zoo-ish mid-range deck, you can almost always make it work. Because if the card you draw is shit, just draw another one and play that instead. Like go for a bit lower curve than with other classes, but yeah.
Because you
Warlock-
didn't really end up using this deck. So was that just like a conscious thing that you were trying to aim for, start on 3, or it just kind of the draft led you there? Because I know in previous some of the decks we saw that you and Sam brought last actively shying away from 2 mana 2/3s and whatnot.
Yeah, like we only picked 1 2-mana 2/3 there, and I probably would have preferred another random 1-drop over the Rockpool Hunter.
Just for a little more consistency. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was saying I do think a lot of people are going for the skip turn 2 as long as they're getting the 1-drops. So it does seem to be working.
It also felt like Wijkert also went with a similar strategy, just skipping 2s unless it's power 2s or weapons, and just go high on 1-drops and 3-drops.
Every class, or do you mean?
Well, Paladin and Rogue is
like,
mainly, isn't
like
it?
in
Yeah.
Paladin and Rogue for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like even in classes like Warlock, I think I prefer strong 1s and 3s over the 2s.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Paladin and Rogue can do something proactively, and Warlock cannot. But it's still, you have more options for the turns after. So if you have to choose, it's better to spend your mana on a 1, which is usually a little bit overstated compared to a 2. And then tap into a 3-drop. I would definitely go for that. But if I'm playing Zoo, I would try to get the lowest curve as possible. And sometimes the draft just forces you, or Shady just forces you to do something else.
Yes, yeah. I did watch that draft actually with you and Shady. He was trying to trial a different way, wasn't it? There were some picks he wanted to do, which didn't actually end up happening. But yeah, it's tough. It's obviously with these changes happening at the moment, and Blizzard just trying to find the right sweet spot for the pools and the offering rates. You know, we are having quite an evolving meta. You know, every week, every 2 weeks in a way, isn't it? So, which some people it's unsettling them, but at the moment I'm quite liking it. You know, it's because when it first was launched, it was a bit tough, but now they seem to be getting closer to a bit equal. So maybe we'll get a settled meta soon. But yeah, at least they're doing something. Yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the current meta that you want to share, but it's still a bit early.
For sure, yeah. No, it's more like I like them balancing stuff. It depends on where you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing is kind of annoying if you're going for the leaderboard or if you take the game seriously.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think balance over like the same meta every week is far more important for me. Also, I like to find out what is good now, right? To see if I can break the meta somehow by choosing some classes over others or stuff like that. So I'm always excited if they change anything, but I'm in the minority for sure. If you look at Reddit, I'm in the minority.
Yes,
no question.
Storm, have you got anything
Reddit,
you want to add on that?
I don't think like Reddit's something you could go by there, because it's just a loud minority there, with every other topic on the internet. Like if you have to something you can complain about, and you're willing to do that, you're gonna feel like everyone's has the same opinion, because yeah, as long as there's something to complain, you'll have a very, very loud minority doing the complaining. But overall, I also like that they try to figure out stuff to improve the game. It sucks that we don't get the exact numbers,
Yeah.
but I think we're in a weird spot with Blizzard there, because like with other developers, they don't give you the exact numbers in the first place, so nobody's complaining about that with other companies.
For some games they do, but
For
it's not
some
really
games, yeah.
very comparable to Hearthstone
Yeah.
at all. And I don't think anyone would like to see those changes. And if they do, if they actually make like a link in the patch notes where you can click through and have like 50 pages of like 1% plus minus, then people will actually check if it's 5%.
Yeah, people definitely will.
micro-adjusted, and
Yeah.
then they will complain about that's actually 7 and not 5, stuff like that. So
Yes, you're right. You
Yeah.
open a new window of complaints there,
Yeah.
definitely. So, in regards to actually, obviously, some information not being disclosed, such as the buckets, like where cards, and then that information being gathered by players such as, Tarot's list, do you guys actually, obviously, being top level players, do you review those posts by Tarot in regards to the buckets? Or have you worked it out for yourself by the feel of each draft you've noticed which is appearing alongside which? If that
I
makes
need it.
sense.
Yeah, for sure. No, I need it less than, but I have the spreadsheet
Yeah.
like in my favorites, so for sure. I was actually also using the Darrow spreadsheet to make an own version, basically to highlight cards that were either under bucketed or over bucketed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then, especially in the beginning, it was interesting where they under bucketed Divine Favor, for example, which if you can get those for cheap, right? Because otherwise you're picking like crappy cards. Then it's better to go for earlier curve, because then Divine Favor is better, stuff like that, right? So that gives you like something to aim for.
Yeah. How about you, Storm? Do you use stuff like that to improve your...
Like I used to, but like in the past few weeks, I haven't been as scientific about my approach there. Like I was just having fun figuring stuff out, just going with the strong classes, and like you never go wrong with Paladin, and like okay, there's the obvious stuff that's slightly under bucketed, like even Potion of Heroism, which is often an easy pick if it's against weak minions.
Yeah,
Potion of Heroism is the one that gives you Divine Shield and draw a card, right?
that's correct, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, funny. Okay, I think it's in a bucket that I would not pick Potion of Heroism often.
Also, like the secrets are bucketed weird. Like you get so often you get like those weird 3 secret buckets where the only secret that actually does stuff is repentance.
Oh, yeah. You definitely hit those buckets now and then. But then you kind of argue that they're all quite weak secrets, and there's always going to be a strong card out of a bucket of 3, But yeah, I'm guessing you're stating that the one secret is a clear winner over the others, so it's... Yeah, but... Yeah, I do get what you mean. But I think the bucketing system overall is definitely, I think, a majority of, the hardcore. I don't know. A lot of the arena community do prefer the bucket system. It's just the tweaking that's going on. They're not necessarily happy with that. And I think for something like this, where we're trying to make maybe a bit more of a competitive side scene for the arena scene, I think the bucket system works very well for that, because the decks are more likely going to be closer on a level of competitiveness rather than maybe having a wider gap. I don't know what you feel in regards to a series like this. What's your thoughts on the bucketed system and bringing 3 separate classes and trying to get equal power levels that can dester another class, if that makes sense with the question?
I feel like on average that might be true,
Yeah.
but like if you get offered less good buckets in a draft, it doesn't allow you to just skillfully draft and still get a good deck.
Okay.
It's like I had drafts where I got like 16, 17 picks from really poor buckets, and like that means you like more than half of your deck is weak in power level, no matter which decision you make there.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting. I actually like those drafts where they are definitely below average when you look at the power level for every card, and then you have only one like solution is to play for synergy or just go face, right? Because otherwise, in the long run you will always lose because of the lower quality. But it's also for me that I want to, like, if you go for the leaderboard and you have a crappy deck, you're actually motivated to go 5 wins instead of 3 or something like that, right? I actually like those drafts, but sometimes it's frustrating if you just want to play and you're facing better decks for sure. But
Yeah.
normally I'm okay with that though.
So, Akna, do you have anything you would like to say? Any questions you'd like to ask?
I think I'm good. It was just a very interesting match.
Yeah.
There was one point when we had the Druid game. The Druid was the
For some reason, you're cutting off a minute. I don't know if... Yeah. It's...
are we back?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it's a noise
Okay.
gate issue on Discord. We'll look at it another time. But yeah, just...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to talk a little closer to the mic. During the Druid, the first game with the Druid, you had the Mossy Horror into the Swamp Ooze, and at that point, it felt like you were in a really good spot, having gotten a win with that Druid deck. And it was just some of the other swings with Godfrey and everything, but it was still a really interesting match.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was actually trying to. I was hoping that Stormscryer would queue up his Paladin first, so I can kind of maybe get a sneaky win with the worst deck I had.
Yeah.
Right.
It was actually okay against Paladin because of Plague, Swipe, Ooze.
And as we saw, the swing cards, the Ooze, and that Mossy Horror, that
Yeah.
seems to be surprising. Every time I see it, it seems to be doing some big damage.
Definitely.
Yeah. To be fair, though, every time you see it, it's only played. Because it's
Yeah, that's true. It's like a Pirate Blast, right? The played win rate.
Yeah. Bloodlust or something.
So one question I actually did forget to ask you, Wijkert, was obviously you queued the Paladin again into the Rogue. What was your choice in queuing the Paladin again, and rather than subbing in the Warrior again to maybe play against the Rogue? You know, why did you?
Oh, well, my reasoning was I have to win with both.
Yeah.
And I just played the Paladin, so I think this deck is more in my head than the previous one, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it didn't matter if I got like win with the Warrior, even if the Warrior had a higher chance. It's just going 3-2 instead of 3-1. But
yeah, no, I do see what you mean. It's just obviously we don't know which had the higher chance, but if it did happen to snag a win, then obviously when you get a win, you're back on equal playing field, and you have the momentum. You just got the win, so like you're kind of built up ready for maybe needing another win. But yeah, I was just curious. I wasn't saying it was necessarily the call to bring the Warrior instead. I was just wondering if what your decision was behind that. So yeah, at this point now, if you guys have anything to say about yourselves, and if you want to maybe try and sell yourselves for potential followers, if you want. So obviously I'm advertising your Twitch streams in channel. If you want, I can. If you just want to say a little bit about, and hopefully you'll get some new followers. So if Wijkert, if you go first, you can just mention a little bit yourself about what you do in regards to the arena community, and I'll share your channel in the channel.
For sure. I just started streaming because of this series actually. And
There we go. We got you.
hey, yeah. I was thinking about starting streaming before, but it was almost always like maybe next
There's
time or
always an
something like
excuse.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I actually liked it more than playing on my own, basically,
Yep.
which is really cool. And I didn't mind to stream all my runs, no worries. It's just explaining and talking about stuff takes more out of you, but I actually
For sure.
find that like taking tough losses is less annoying when you're streaming than when you're playing on your own somehow. I'm not sure why, but
You've got the community to lift you up.
Exactly the
Yeah.
same way. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure
What
why,
what
but
I
it
actually I'm
works.
glad you started streaming because I actually really like your co-ops with Shady, and I obviously you're a very strong player in your own right, and I like how quite often you will challenge Shady at picks or plays, before coming to an agreement. I really like the way you challenge, so it's nice seeing different insights, and then obviously when you play by yourself you get to fully do all the plays by yourself as well, so I definitely
Yeah.
do like it. It's nice to see you streaming.
Yeah, I play with Shady currently like 2 times a week, probably on Tuesdays, on Fridays.
Yeah.
And I think I will keep streaming on my own for sure. So
Excellent.
give me a follow if you would see more of my drafts or ask me questions. Currently, I have since I'm starting, there are like 5 people watching, right? So if you want to ask, I can definitely give you an answer. And if you ask in Shady Stream and I'm watching,
Get in there
chats
before
and
he gets too popular, guys. Before he just blows up.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you want to have some questions, I think it's the best way to go, right? Because I can definitely answer your questions, no worries. And also, I'm on the Hearth Arena team where you probably talked about it already, but anyways.
Yeah, no, feel free, go on about it.
Yeah, I rate the cards every expansion. We talk about. We take a lot of time actually. We rate the cards individually, and then we discuss the cards and we come to some kind of agreement where it's not strictly the average between everybody that is rating the cards, but it's also like you're trying to convince the other guy that you are right, or maybe you were wrong. Anyway, it takes a lot of time just because we don't want to make that many mistakes, because if you do, you will definitely hear back from the community for sure. And I love doing that. That's really cool to take the time to.
And to be fair, you're helping out a lot of players, and people are probably not aware you're one of these people contributing to Hearth Arena. And obviously, a lot of people use Hearth Arena that, increase their win weight, help them introduce to Arena, build up their gold, build up their collection. So the work you do is definitely very appreciated. Even though I don't use the app myself, there are people who might start picking it up today as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. Give it a try. We're definitely adjusting to the bucket system, because that's not easy at all. It's just not meant, it's not built for the bucket system basically.
Yeah.
And which is giving us a hard time, mostly actually because of the stats that are we getting back as a feedback, and we're working on it to improve so we can also help out more. But I mean, we're working on stuff, but I promise not to disclose.
Yeah, no, that's
much,
fine. That's
but-
understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. So good things are coming, I hope, for sure.
Excellent. So, Stormscryer, if you want to take up the mic and, say a little bit about yourself and your channel, which again I'll post in the chat.
Yeah, I'm 1/3 of the stream of Murlocs and Men. I run the channel with Walker and Sam, 2 guys from around Newcastle. We basically only do co-op, which in my opinion makes the draft more interesting. Like kind of when Wijkert and Shady do it, like discussing plays, that's something you can't actually do when you're on your own.
Yep.
And I think it also adds a lot to the viewers' experience, like getting in deeper insight in what and why you pick stuff. Like if you're doing it on your own, you might explain your pick, but you don't have anyone to actually argue with,
Yeah.
and like the insight's quite a bit deeper. And also, it's more fun. Like I used to stream on my own before I joined Sam and Walker, and I always felt a bit awkward not having like a natural conversation there, just talking to the camera. And as like Wijkert, when starting out, and you just have like 1, 2, 5 viewers, it feels a bit weird just talking to the camera and no one's watching, or almost no one's watching. So yeah, I really enjoy doing co-ops with the guys. And, yep,
Okay. Excellent.
just having an entertaining stream. And also, like if Wijkert wants to join us for a co-op once in a while, you're very welcome.
Yeah, for sure. Why
Yeah,
not?
that would be nice to
Let's-
see. I'd like to
go.
see
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
That's
Sounds
great.
good, man. Let's set it up.
Okay then, so again, thank you two for playing. It's greatly appreciated. Obviously, we can't do the show without players, so thank you so much. I would obviously love for you guys to be back on at a later date, so we'll set something up down the line. Yeah, so we're going to end the...
One last
Oh,
thing
sorry,
before
go
we
on.
let you go. We do want to hand out our honorary Misplay Club membership for the order lull on the Grave Shambler in that one game for you, Wijkert.
Oh,
So
yes.
you get our honorary Misplay membership.
Seriously? Did I miss all that?
So,
You could have played the Grave Shambler first and got your weapon swing in. We thought you actually noticed afterward, and we're thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't play it now. I should just play the
Oh no, I had
But
no
you could have
clue,
had
man.
your-
yeah,
No,
you could
no.
have made it a 5-5 with... I think you had the one, the Stein Cleaver out.
Where I could
Yeah.
have played a... Yeah. I put on the left, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have that at least as a your accomplishment.
Well, thanks. Great.
It's an award you can literally brag about, you know. In your description for your channel, don't put your leaderboard finishes.
Arguably more
you know?
prestigious than winning the actual events.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can put the Misplay Club
Sounds good,
award
sounds
down.
good.
Okay, yeah, so thank you all. It's really appreciated. Without you, you know, we can't do anything like this, and I'm hoping to further develop it and obviously get extra players playing and people back. So, yeah, thank you so much. Massive shout out to you.
Thanks for having me, man. And also, thanks for organizing this series. It's really, really good. Really high quality, production quality.
Thank
for
you very
sure.
much. Yeah, I would love, obviously, if you do watch it back, if you have any feedback, just chuck me messages. Obviously, you've got multiple ways of getting in touch with me, so that would be greatly appreciated. You know, I'm always looking to make adjustments. So, yeah. We're going to end it there. Thank you again, and we'll all chat after I've ended the stream then. Okay?
Yep.
So...
So